Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ironis Insights. I got Ryan Harrington, the field CTO at Presidio, previously VP of Enterprise Architecture for 9 years. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Where are you calling from?
Coming from Noblesville, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis.
Nice.
But most of the time I'm at the airport, so I don't really live here very much.
Yeah, you've been traveling a lot for your new role.
Starting to. I'm getting ready to fly to Oklahoma here in a couple hours, so
Well,
I'm
thanks for
enjoying
hopping
that
on.
though.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on right before. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to, hearing about your background and how you kind of got into your current role. I know you recently just made a transition, but how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I joined the military and liked the structure of that. And
Yeah.
my mother got really sick, ended up having cancer, and I ended up getting out of the military a little early and didn't know what to do. So my father helped me get a role at a phone company. And I
Interesting.
was just, putting in screws and connecting power and didn't really know what that stuff was. But my mother being very ill and in the hospital, I started taking the books home because no one was using them. Like they were still covered in cellophane. So I'd take them and I'd be sitting in the hospital with her for hours. So I started reading these, and it was around optical at the time. So I was sitting in an engineering meeting, and one of the head people for a hospital said, "Hey, we're going to do this. We want to change these things. We want to do these types of X-rays and transmit this data." And I was like, just the young guy straight out of the military, but still only 22 years old. And I was like, the system can't do that. And you can imagine how that went over
Yeah, I
with a,
bet.
a large carrier company that I worked for. And so, not to get in all the details, but 3 months later, I was an engineer. So,
Interesting.
and from there, I kind of did the same thing. Another large client that we had was having challenges, and this corporation couldn't get things off the ground. So I came out from being the engineer and spent 27 hours straight with one of my good friends, Brian Dick, who is still in the industry also. And we plugged away at the computers for 27 hours straight and reprogrammed the whole thing and got it up and running. And then that company hired me, and that was Fujitsu. And I spent 5 years at Fujitsu. I helped build a NOC for them, worked in product support. And then I went to Verizon from there. And I ran the central area, so most of Indiana for all the central offices. Then I interviewed for a position to become the voice engineer for Purdue University
Okay.
and quickly realized that there was a lot of things that needed to change there. So I moved into a role covering voice and networking. And then our boss left, so we were kind of sitting in for that. And then the VP, basically CTO, left. So me and another guy, Ron Lehman, were sitting in that seat for a year and a half. And I realized I enjoy helping. I enjoy learning. Hobbies are my hobbies. So I love technology. Like I
Yeah.
play guitar. I'm into sports memorabilia. I program Christmas lights. I do model railroading. Like I don't sleep very much. So I'm kind of into a lot of things. So I just wanted to get back on the side of
Yeah.
talking and helping people where I could. So when Presidio was net tech at the time, started working with them and talking to them, and I was like, this is really where I think I want to be. And once I got into this role, I then met the CTO here. At the time was Vanu Thomas, now Rob Kim, who I work for, and he saw something, and he's like, we need to build a practice that's going out at a high level and putting complex solutions together. I'd like you to lead that. So we built the enterprise architecture team 9 years ago and just kind of dissolved it, but it's moving into different areas of Presidio, moving more into practice areas where it kind of belongs right now. And then myself and a few others will go and kind of pull that all together into a larger approach for Presidio. So we have a message that shows everything that we can do together and why a full life cycle of services is really important to our clients today. So that's kind of a long-winded answer there, but not
No,
very often do people ask me that.
it's fascinating, and I think you told a really nice story. I mean, just like going into the military, and I'm so sorry about your mother, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and but I mean, just sitting. next to her by the hospital bed with that book. I mean, it's so you really kind of just and your dad getting you the gig at the phone company. It's like it kind of just you fell into this and then just
I
ran with it,
did.
huh?
Yeah. And didn't realize how much I enjoyed technology, right, until I got into it. And then I've always enjoyed problem solving.
Hmm.
And come to find out, technology is pretty much day to day of problem solving,
Yeah.
right? Trying to figure out what's going on. What are we doing next? How do we evolve? How do we stay with the pace? Like it's always problem solving. So it's
Well, it's always
been good for
improving,
me.
right? And it's always ever changing, and that's what's exciting about technology is because it's you're never content, right? It's always what's next.
Yeah.
If you've just released something, it's already almost obsolete because the next project is already, 6,
Right.
8 months down the line.
Yeah, I say we're in maybe the final stage because we're in a state of creation now, right?
Mm,
We were kind of in a maintenance mode, right? You used to fix components,
hmm.
then it was replacing cards, then it was replacing systems, and now that system can be anything you want from morning to night. You could change it, right?
Right.
It's just an empty box that you can program and decide what you want it to be, and you're creating every day. It's something different. Now, I don't know if that creation is to stay up with the innovation and everything we need, or if it's breaking down faster than we can keep it fixed. So it doesn't really matter. The fact is we're continuing to innovate and move. So
Yeah, I mean that's important. Definitely staying with the times, and I see a lot of companies falling behind, especially in the past few years with all the different implementations of. Um, I hate to use the buzzword AI, right? But all of these automations and LLMs now that the public is really getting more access to, but these have been around for many years.
oh yeah.
Um, it's just now it's I think the smaller companies are just getting wind of it and wanting to implement it and not sure how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. AI has been around for a while. Back in 2010 and 11, when I was at Purdue, right, we were building large supercomputers and LLMs and
Yeah.
right, and doing everything across ESNet and specific networks and using Lustre and all these things, right, for very specific reasons. And I remember one of them that I was really excited about was full of GPUs so that they could render things for a way faster,
Hmm.
right? Something you could render like a large engine with every part could take a day and a half, and they were able to do it in a couple minutes. So,
Yeah.
and now we commoditize everything, right? That's kind of how the world works, right? We
Yeah.
we build all these really specific things, and then we kind of open it and find out that there's value to the public.
Yeah. No, exactly, right. So tell me a little bit more about, you know, you said you dissolved your previous I guess part of your company. Now, what does this transition mean for you and for your company? Like what are your goals?
So my goals are we've grown, right? And technology, we just talked about it, it's continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
So when you do that, maybe you started out as a network company, maybe you started as a data center company, maybe you started out as cloud. The best part about Presidio is we started all of those because that's what we've acquired. We've
Yeah.
done a really good job at kind of keeping the pace, but looking out 3 to 5 years on where we're going, but kind of meeting our clients where they are. So in my new role, I really see me working with our CTO Rob Kim, who's brilliant. He's working on all these things. He actually just came out with the second brain conversation, and how we're meant to have thoughts, but maintaining those thoughts and all that data is difficult. But where AI can help us with that. So I start to see how can I start to get more time in the field and influence people again, influence internally and externally to bring us together to start sharing a story, right? And that short story can't just be about technology anymore. It has to be about what we're trying to accomplish. And what I mean by that is we've been saying we're strategic and aligned to the business for the past 5 years. I don't know of any IT companies or the big four consulting firms that can truly say that they drove a whole bunch of new business, right, through that. Now, maybe they helped in some areas, but now with AI and all the data that we have and the access that we have, and observability, we were kind of talking about before we got on here, you have all this data that's allowing to make better decisions. So Now I can align that to a business. Let's say manufacturing.
Yep.
Let's say a label maker goes down for manufacturing, and now they're taking fines because they can't get the labels on the boxes to ship them out, and they have a deadline and they have an SLA for the client that those are going to, and now they're showing up 2 days late, and that's costing them money.
Hmm.
What if I can evaluate that and say, hey, this happened? Now I can be proactive and say, hey, what's going on? Do we need to get another label maker out here? Do we need to move this over? What can we actually do? What are the insights, the deep analytics that we have across the network, across the application, across SaaS, PaaS, in the cloud? Doesn't matter. And I can pull those all into a single place to give you a moment in time when that event happened and exactly what happened. Maybe it's latency to a database because someone did some patching last night and it's wrong, right? And it killed the API.
Hmm.
So,
And that's the value, right? So for something like that, how long would it take you to, I'm sure it's case by case, right? But how long would it take you to dissect that, overview everything?
so, internally, not long at all because I know our service catalog very well.
Hmm.
So bringing the pieces together that makes sense doesn't take me long. For a client, I have found we now live in an objective world since really the pandemic kind of drove it, right? People were buying stuff all over the place because they're scared, didn't know what they were getting. Cybersecurity was a challenge. So then they ended up with a surplus of stuff and didn't know what to do with it. Now they're very objective, right? They're very taking their time on everything. Like, what am I going to get out of this? I want to make sure that there's value in this. I want to make sure that it's cost effective. I want to make sure that I have the time to do this. And
Hmm.
that's why I break everything down for our clients. It comes down to feasibility. Do you have the time? Do you have the skill set? And do you have the money? Best part is Presidio can help you with any of those. Like I can come up with a program around any of those to help you. But those are challenges that we blow everything up so much that it comes down to this little nth degree thing instead of looking at the bigger picture on what are we actually trying to accomplish here. Maybe it's Google versus Office 365 and which tools you're going to use. And to me, which ones do your people use today? Which ones do you want them using? Let's meet your clients where they are and your internal clients as well as your external clients. So I find that in an objective world, I can be very subjective and I can just talk to clients for a few hours,
Hmm.
gather some data and say, hey, it looks like from what you're saying, you have a challenge with data center, right? Your life cycle on your hardware is 3 years long. So you're not just going to throw this stuff in the cloud today, right? But we probably should start architecting and put things where they need to be, looking at performance, looking at dependencies, looking at all those things that you need to make sure we have all that data to make the best decision, right? Is this a long-term application? When we move things to the cloud, are we trying to do it one for one where you had 16 CPUs and 32 gig of RAM? Is that how we're moving? Because if that's the way we're moving, we're probably missing the opportunity.
Hmm.
Instead of going, how much CPU is being used? Did it run at 5%? Did it run at 20%? How much gig of RAM do we actually use? And now we're moving the workload based on its performance, not on what you had, right? In the availability. So subjectively, you can ask those questions and you can get a lot of information instead of going in and doing all these assessments. Where I find if you're doing all those assessments, you're not creating and innovating fast enough. You're too slow. You can't get to market fast enough. And by the time you have that data, it's already changed.
Right. Yeah, it's almost reactive versus and also just listen. I think you said something very important, which is, you have to ask the right questions and listen to the clients or partners, right? And hear them out. And that, I mean, I think that speaks volumes to why you're so successful and where you are today, because that is such an important thing that I feel like many people miss.
Yeah, I think that it's funny you say that because I harp on that quite often.
Mm,
I have friends in the industry and they'll be telling me all the great things that they have and they're bringing to market. And I'm like, that's great for a marketing approach,
yeah.
but are you taking a solution looking for a problem? Because our clients have plenty of problems, right? Let's go talk to them and find out what they have, and then let's align our solutions to that and see where we can help.
Hmm.
Instead of just always having the latest widget, AI being the latest one, and then just trying to apply it to everything. And I'm like, there's plenty of things to apply it to, right? You don't have to canvas everything,
Yeah.
you know, it, it, especially when I'm looking at knowledge base and observability and operations, like AI and agentic approach, right? And putting MCP servers and tying it to your unstructured data as well as to your ITSM and your ITAM and even cloud, right? And even let's say you're a Salesforce. I got MuleSoft or someone's got data there. I can pull all that together and now I could use whatever, Copilot, Gemini, you name it, whichever one you want, and just start typing in, hey, I need to set up Joe who just started the company today. I would like all of his stuff to be set up, his security, his laptop, all of his application access. And you did that from there as long as you had the right credentials.
Right.
That's all real and feasible and ready to go. And AI, to the maturity of it right now, is very easy to do.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's very important to I you know people are taking more time now to make these decisions, and you make a great point. Um, I feel like when you made another good point when you mentioned 2020 COVID, and where people are just kind of just like buying any type of firewall security and say, okay, I'm covered now, I'm good. But so many of my partners that I work with, they'll go in and ask the questions and do assessments where needed, and they're actually not covered or protected at all, or there's large cracks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a false sense of security, right?
Yeah,
I've bought all the best products, which,
yeah,
and when I tell clients, if I bring up a security product, like this is a good product, and they're like, well, it's too expensive. I'm like, well, you bought Salesforce, you bought SAP. Why? Because they're number one in the market and they're the best,
yeah.
right? We don't sell those, right? But we work with those, right? And we do data analytics on them and we help them with them. We
Hmm.
do implementations on things like ServiceNow and so it's always you bought the best though, but you didn't want to add the services on it or bring in the skill set to help you deploy it and then manage that program in a timely manner to make sure you got what you needed and then test it, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. We kind of stop at the the feeling good, the emotional portion, the EQ side of things instead of the IQ side of things, and be like, yeah, I felt great that we got that up and running, but did you? Did you leverage all the tools
Yeah,
in your firewall? Right.
yeah. No, exactly. And I'm curious. So, with your current business, are these companies coming to you? How are you finding them? Or and do you focus on a specific niche right now? You mentioned manufacturing. I'm sure that was just one example, but
Yeah.
just kind of curious what you're
We
focusing on.
across the board. So specifically for me, I work in some of the financial, entertainment,
Hmm.
manufacturing, retail. I'm in all of it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Including state, local, and education too.
Yep.
So large governments, large, universities, spend a lot of time working with them. And that's part of my joy of my job. One, I worked at Caterpillar in high school, so I got to work on the large 3600 gen sets and saw how manufacturing worked, right? I worked in restaurants in high school, right? Just
Yep.
if people take time and realize the journey and where they've gotten and remember those things like cleaning tables or waiting on people and working on using the POS system, and then how they can use that today and how do they relate to their clients on what were the challenges that I had? What did I see that was like, well, this is dumb. I could make this better. Because I would guess a lot of that's probably still there
Yeah.
and you can relate to your client and then they start to talk to you in a manner that they would talk to a coworker and now you really can consult and help them
Exactly.
where we're very rigid and that's the most difficult part. Humans still sell to humans, right? And that's not going away anytime soon.
Hmm.
And now we have more data, we have better ways of approaching it. And that's where I think we've been missing the boat for quite a while is just take the time and listen, get the data, and then come back with some solutions and then narrow it down until you're on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, being able to relate to anyone on a human level and for them to know that you understand how their business works, or at least a little bit of experience in it. You've had a taste of it. My first job was also in the restaurant industry in high school to get my work release. It's like
Oh yeah.
we both worked construction. We were talking about it offline. It's really helpful when you're talking to these companies to relate in some manner where, yeah, exactly. It's like they're talking to their peers. I mean, yeah, I mean, you really nailed it. I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of things cooking and a lot of things working well. What what do you think you would like to change or fix right now if you could wave a magic wand and change it?
One, change the way we market to clients
Hmm.
and overall, um, terms of AI. And before that, it was data analytics, right? And
Hmm.
then it was, RPA, which it was never RPA. It was BPA and DPA way before it was RPA, right? Not a lot of times did you need someone to come in and build you an RPA specific, someone already built an API. So we use a lot of terms that make it difficult when you really are trying to help
Yeah.
and you go talk to a client and they're using a term and you're using a term and you spend the first few minutes just what does that mean to you
Yeah.
and making
Yeah.
sure that we're all on the same page,
We'll see if
right?
you're speaking the same language, right? Because it's there's so many different different industries and they all have their different lingo. Familiar with maybe a subset of what you're talking about, or maybe not at all, and they're pretending that they know what you're talking about for half the pitch, and
Yeah,
then and or half the conversation, and then and then it's like, well, what are we doing here?
yeah. Or we changed the term, right? Like, now tech debt's used everywhere. And tech debt originally was you bought an application or a service and then you hired 25 people and you did it as a hobby and a fifth of your company. And now you have all these people and you have all this debt that you can't get rid of,
Hmm.
right? And now we just align it to everything's tech debt, right? Your life cycle, even assets that you depreciate are considered tech debt. So just having the conversation and saying, are we speaking the same language? And to be honest, I don't care what they believe it is.
Yeah,
Just tell me so I can get on the same page.
yeah, yeah. So you can level with them exactly. Um, so where do you see Presidio going right now, like next year, 6, 12 months, with this new transition that you're doing? Where do you want to be? Or you can even go further if you want, 3, 5 years.
So, I mean, we've really been focused on global, right? Where mergers, acquisitions, right? And we continue to round out the portfolio. We recently bought a Splunk practice, recently bought a ServiceNow integrator, right? So just rounding out the whole portfolio
Mm-hmm.
on where a client begins, right? And this whole cloud challenge that we've had, people migrating to cloud and not knowing what they're spending, what does the FinOps look like? Did they get their tagging? Did they get everything correct? And most of them didn't. And then it's like, do you have a CMDB? And everyone does. And then we're empathetic and say, I bet it's not good. And they're all like, nope, it's not good. And now we can say, maybe we can help you fix that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And find out what's going on. But then you add the observability on top of that, and you get all those insights. And how much is this being used? Am I getting value out of it? What did we use it for?
right.
Right. If I'm a C level,
Hmm.
there's four pieces, right? I call the financial piece, which is the decision to buy something, the logistics, warehousing, all that, the asset management. And then the final one is the value.
Hmm.
And then in the middle, you have implementation and management, right? If I was a C level, I would try to get it so that my operation is effective and doing the things that they feel like they should be doing, right? If a network person, you want him looking at the network, how can he make it better? How can he do things differently? Right? How do I get rid of all the noise and all the daily challenges? And that's where we think agentic AI is going to help.
Yeah,
And you're able to have your engineers thinking and like,
exactly.
hey, maybe we implement this. Maybe we test this. Maybe do a digital twin and run some new ways of operating this and see what we get. So they become part of this solution and the future versus always being reactive that we talked about earlier.
And I think you nailed it. It's freeing up their time by maybe a couple, maybe some automations or improved workflows or whatever it is to allow them to focus on the work that not only do they likely love if they're in it, but what they're meant to be doing, not
Yeah.
busy remedial tasks which bog you down both mentally. It's exhausting, doing
Yep.
doing repetitive tasks that can be automated and exactly, and that it fixes in itself. And going back to the C level, the value, you save them however many hours in a day, you know, break it out to how much you're saving a year. There's your value. It's going to pay for itself probably in the first month, whatever investment
Yep.
they're making. And and that's what you have to show them.
Yeah, increasing that efficiency and profitability, right? That's what they care about.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking to whenever you go in and have that meeting,
Hmm.
right?
Well, this is fascinating, Ryan. It's been great chatting with you, man. Let's say, where can my guests and my viewers find you?
LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
on LinkedIn. Presidio's website, you can find me also.
Awesome.
Um,
I'll put those links below the video here. And
Perfect.
I hope you have a safe flight. And I really appreciate you hopping on here today.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thanks.